Ubisoft has finally announced that yes, they are making a new Splinter Cell game. After what feels like forever and their fans giving them a hard time, Ubisoft has finally announced that, yeah, there is a new Splinter Cell in development after all. So after all those little teases and everything, it turns out they are actually making a new Splinter Cell game. Before we read the blog post, please consider subscribing, hitting that bell if you like this channel to know when these videos go live. Let's just read the press release. So Splinter Cell Remake begins development at Ubisoft Toronto. So Ontario, where I grew up. Ubisoft has greenlit the development of a Splinter Cell remake that will draw from the rich canvas of the brand. Led by Ubisoft Toronto, the game will be rebuilt from the ground up using Ubisoft's own Snowdrop engine, the same engine being used to develop Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, as well as Ubisoft's upcoming Star Wars game, to deliver new generation visuals and gameplay and the dynamic lighting and shadows the series is known for. So here it is, where they announced the fact that it's actually being developed. And they actually just used a bunch of old footage here. And then, yeah, so they talk about the old games and show them off, which is great. To find out more, we spoke with 3 developers on the project: creative director Chris Audie, producer Matt West, and technical producer Peter Handrinos, about their connection to the series that's being preserved, what's being preserved, and what made Splinter Cell such a revelation. Are you approaching Splinter Cell as a remake? What makes it a remake and not a remaster? To me, a remake takes what you do in a remaster and goes a little bit further with it. Well, that's interesting. The original Splinter Cell has a lot that was amazing and revolutionary at the time it came out 19 years ago. The gaming public now has even more refined palette, a more refined palette, so I think it kind of has to be a remake as opposed to remaster. Yeah, no kidding. Like you remastered the original trilogy not that long ago on the PlayStation 3 era. I know they came out with the triple pack or whatever. Anyway, although we're still in the very earliest stages of development, what we're trying to do is make sure the spirit of the early games remains intact in all of the ways that gave early Splinter Cell its identity. That sounds great. So as we're building it from the ground up, we're going to update it visually, as well as some of the design elements to match player comfort and expectations. And we are going to keep it linear like the original games, not make it open world. I wonder if that's a dig at Halo. Anyway, how do we make sure that that new fans are able to pick up the controller and dive right in and fall in love with the game and the world right from the get-go? So that's really interesting, actually. So I didn't realize that they were just remaking the original trilogy. That actually has me a little bit more excited than I was originally. So glad I actually read the blog post. So that's cool. That's cool. Peter says, from a tech perspective, it had to boil down to a couple of words in terms of difference. What we're doing is exploration and innovation here. We've got a new engine and a new console lifecycle to take advantage of, so the tech is one area that we don't want stuck in the past. The phrase stealth action redefined from the original game has actually proven to be a really valuable North Star for us. We're able to, for example, apply that to what Peter was just saying, as far as being able to prototype and innovate and test some stuff out. That is very much in keeping with us redefining what stealth action is going to feel like for a modern audience. That's actually really great. Really excited to hear that because, you know, when you look at some of these other games that are being remade, like Dead Space, I'm actually more excited about it because they are using new engines, new technologies, but retaining the heart of what those games originally had. So that sounds very promising. What aspects do you think are most important to update? What is the core of this experience that needs to be preserved? Splinter Cell was a breakthrough in stealth, as Matt mentioned. It was stealth redefined with a huge focus on getting that core gameplay right above all and delivering on that ideal. Be a ghost. It's important for us to preserve The sense of mastery by supporting players who observe the situations, make their plan, use their gadgets, and outsmart the enemy creatively to deal with the challenges they are presented with. Ideally, they end up coming out the other side with no one having realized you were even there. That's the essence of Splinter Cell. One of the things that, from my point of view, is really exciting about this project is that the last couple of games all of us have worked on have been really big worlds. What that means is that the economy of decisions is very spread out, whereas what I love about a Splinter Cell map is every square inch represents intentionality. Every square inch is part of a choice or directly offers a choice or has a direct ramification. That density of gameplay is at the forefront in Splinter Cell, and that's going to be really, really important for us. The gameplay experience we are targeting is directly tied to what we want players to feel to capture the essence back when we were all playing the original games. Yeah, and preserving what made those early games so compelling, we recognize a huge part of the appeal of Splinter Cell is the flawless planning, execution, and satisfaction you feel when you go in and absolutely ace every encounter. Seeing your mastery put on display at the end of things, especially when you go through with no alarms triggered, that's a big part of the Splinter Cell experience, and we want to be sure we're honoring that. So I actually, I think that all sounds great. So just reading it for the first time, they hit the nail on the head. I always like to play those stealth games and get through them perfectly without being spotted and then doing it quickly. That's like a cherry on top. Excuse me, I'm a little tired, so that's a cherry on top when you beat those original games. So that sounds really, really interesting. It sounds fun. Splinter Cell is being remade in Snowdrop engine. What has it enabled you to do that that wouldn't have been possible 19 years ago, or that wouldn't be possible with other engines even now? Snowdrop is a proven modern AAA engine and empowers content creators and programmers alike to try things quickly, see what works, and ultimately find success. I think that's one of its major advantages, allowing us to quickly find the modern equivalent of that core Splinter Cell gameplay. Some other AAA engines out there do not afford this type of iteration speed necessarily, and so this is really what gives Snowdrop an edge when bringing Splinter Cell up to speed on a modern engine. Taking a step back, what was your first experience? So that was about what made it special to them. Back to present, okay. So things like thermal vision and using that as a gameplay element, these are things were not just graphical bells and whistles, they were actually relevant to the experience. Yeah, I would switch between night vision and such. From a team's perspective, we're all behind that philosophy that the stuff that gets added is not just eye candy, it has a relevance and a bearing on the game itself. He says on the twice in the blog post. So that was a huge defining moment for me playing Splinter Cell for the first time, seeing that tech and being blown away by it, and then seeing it integrated into gameplay. That was a big moment and a good memory. So then they talk a little bit about their personal experiences, and then let's read the wrap up here because I need to record another video tonight. It's safe to say that a lot of us on the team are stealth purists, and we're behind that level of seriousness when it comes to those kind of mechanics and those sorts of things that we want to see in this game. And we're very, very aware of what makes classic Splinter Cell what it is. We talked earlier about that dense world where every square inch is important because they're all a consequence of a choice or setting the table for the next choice from the player's point of view. So that kind of density, that packed nature, that I think was so palpable in the first trilogy. It's going to be one of our guiding lights as we go forward. With this remake, we're building a solid base for the future of Splinter Cell. So we learned so much in that blog post. We learned that Splinter Cell is a remake, and it does seem like they're remaking the original trilogy. They're using Snowdrop. I'm actually really excited to see what this looks like because it means that we're going to get a look at the updates to visuals. Like, just imagine what, with all the different lighting effects that are in video games these days, advancing to an engine like Snowdrop is going to offer. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. I'm actually quite excited. I'm excited Ubisoft talked about something without talking about NFTs and blockchain, which I'm not that excited by at all. So let me know what you think about the Splinter Cell reveal. I'm stoked. And if you like these videos, please consider hitting that subscribe button, hitting that bell. I appreciate you for doing so. If you want to become a member, memberships are turned on. And a big thank you to all of the members. I do greatly appreciate you. Been very busy the last few days. If you want to become a member, click that join button. Very busy, but I always have time to say thank you to the members. I'm going to get out of here, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now, everybody.